My parents said they couldn't afford to take me on vacation. Then I saw my sister's kids sitting in first class. I didn't say a word, but a week later, none of them were laughing anymore. I was always the spare in the family, not the golden child, not the one praised at family gatherings, just a faint shadow in the background. And my sister, Rebecca now, was the golden image, the perfect mom, the devoted wife, the successful banker with luxury vacations, the one my parents always favored. Then there was me, Nathan, the quiet older brother working overtime, never complaining, the one they remembered when they needed help or money. It started small. Nathan, can you lend us a little? Your dad lost his job, things are tight. I had just started working at the hospital. I said yes, because I thought, that's what kids do for their parents. Then Rebecca called. Maya wants to join ballet classes. It's pricey. Can you help a bit? I nodded. Then it happened again. And again. You're so lucky, Nathan, my mom used to say. You don't have the burden Rebecca does. Lucky. That's what they called my quiet suffering. I told myself it was okay. After all, they were family. Besides, I wasn't struggling. I didn't have a wife, no kids, no big expenses. I had only one dream, to travel. On my own. To Europe, walk cobblestone streets, eat pasta by a Venetian canal. But there was always something. Yet somehow, every time I was close to making it happen, something would come up. A family emergency, an unexpected expense, or a guilt-ridden trip. Until I booked a ticket to Florence, using savings from the last 5 years. I told no one. This trip was mine. At JFK Airport, I stood in the economy line. My heart was pounding, excited. Then I heard a familiar laugh. Mason, you don't need your game console, baby. They have screens on board. I turned around. Rebecca, the kids, my parents, all in the first-class queue, dressed up, designer bags, gold-trimmed tickets, laughing, relaxed. I couldn't believe it. They said they couldn't afford me. Yet here they were, off on a luxury vacation. I wanted to believe it was a fluke, until Mom chuckled. Still feel guilty for not bringing Nathan. Please, Rebecca smirked. He wouldn't fit in here anyway. The laughter spread, a tiny sound, but it shattered something inside me. I turned away, heart sinking. I didn't say a word. For the first time, I let silence do the talking, and it tasted sweet. I didn't say a word. I just watched them walk into first class, completely unaware that I had witnessed everything. And in that moment, something inside me changed. I didn't text. I didn't call. For the first time in my life, I let the silence linger. I was always the one to reach out, the one asking if they needed anything, the one making sure my parents weren't struggling. But this time, nothing. And that feeling, it was so liberating. Florence was incredible. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of. I walked all day, sipped coffee at little cafes, watched the sunset behind the Duomo. But I couldn't stop replaying that moment at the airport. I should have felt happy. Night fell, and as I sat on the hotel balcony, watching the city lights blink in the distance, I couldn't stop replaying that moment at the airport. He wouldn't fit in here. Those words pierced like knives. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about the money. Not exactly. It was the realization that my family had never considered me a part of them. They had mocked me. I wasn't a priority. I wasn't even a passing thought. A week later, I came home. The calls started. My mom, overly cheerful. How was your trip, sweetie? I answered curtly, good. Then she added, well, your dad and I are a little tight this month. Can you help out with some groceries? Then I laughed, coldly. It wasn't intentional. It just came out. sharp and bitter. Groceries? I said. You mean what you bought after flying back first class from Cancun? She gave a strained laugh. Nathan, that was different. We used air miles. Rebecca found a great deal. Don't, I cut her off. Don't say another word. Sweetheart, it's not what you think. If we could have taken you with us, we would have. But you could have, I nearly shouted. You just didn't want to. Silence. I could feel her scrambling for an excuse. We didn't think it would matter to you. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tightly. Wouldn't it matter to me? I echoed. No apology, not a hint of regret. They never even considered me. That was the moment I decided. I was done. No more money, no more obligations, no longer the invisible child. 2 days later, my cousin Rebecca called. I wasn't going to answer, but curiosity got the better of me. What do you want, Rebecca? I said coldly. So now you think you're too good for us? She snapped. I laughed. Guess that business class flight made you forget who paid for it. Oh, come on, Nathan. You're still mad about that? Not mad, I said. Just woke up. A pause. Then, her voice turned soft, manipulative. Nathan, things are tough. You've got no kids, no wife. It's not a big deal to help out, right? I already paid Maya's tuition last month, I reminded her. Well, you always do, she replied like it was obvious. Not anymore. Silence, then a scoff. God, you're such a selfish bastard. I hung up, and for the first time, I felt at peace. But the quiet didn't last. By morning, my phone was flooded with messages. First, my mother. Nathan, you can't do this. We're family. Call me. Then my father. Son, your family needs you. Don't be childish. And finally, Rebecca. So you really think you're better than all of us now? I didn't respond. I drank my coffee and sat silently on the couch. For the first time in years, no one needed anything from me. It felt amazing. But by noon, another call from my mom. I didn't pick up. Another call from my mom. I sent it to voicemail. A minute later, my phone buzzed with a message. Nathan, please. Something serious is happening. I rolled my eyes. Another problem, another crisis I had to solve. I sighed. Another message. It's about the house. We're facing foreclosure. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but the stupid part, the part that still cared, called back. I called Mom back. She picked up after a single ring, like she'd been waiting by the phone. She sighed dramatically. Nathan, your father and I didn't want to worry you, but things have been really tough lately, and we're 3 months behind on the mortgage. I pinched the bridge of my nose, my chest tightening. And when exactly were you planning to tell me this? I just didn't want to put pressure on you, she insisted, her voice faltering. But now, we really need your help. Help? I let out a bitter laugh. You mean you want me to pay for it? All of it? Just this time, she rushed to say. Just to keep the bank from coming to our door. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Funny how you had money for a first-class flight from San Diego to New York, but not to pay the mortgage. A long silence. Finally, she said, barely holding back tears. It's not like that, Nathan. It's exactly like that, I interrupted. You don't hesitate to pay for Rebecca's ballet recitals, but your own son doesn't even get a phone call. You're being unfair, she snapped. You don't know what it's like to be a parent. You don't understand real responsibility. The door slammed behind her. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I just felt free. After that dramatic exit, I told myself, this was only round 1. My parents weren't the type to give up easily. They'd be back. And sure enough, the next day, my phone lit up. A message from Dad. Nathan, come for dinner Sunday. We need to talk. I laughed. We need to talk was family code for, we need you to do something and you don't get to say no. I'd fallen for that trap more times than I could count, but not this time. Me. I'm busy. A minute later, the phone rang. I hesitated, then answered, more out of curiosity than concern. What is this, Nathan? My dad's voice came through, firm, trying to sound reasonable. That's enough. You're acting like a child. Really? I said, reclining on the sofa. Because from where I'm sitting, I seem to be the only adult in the room. Silence, then a long sigh. Son, you're making a mess of things. We're family. Family doesn't abandon each other. Abandon? I repeated. You mean the way you both left me standing at JFK and got on the plane like nothing happened? Another silence, this one longer. You're being unfair, he said quietly. We were overwhelmed back then. Maybe, I replied evenly, but the feeling of being abandoned was pretty damn clear. No one said anything for a few seconds. Then Dad's tone shifted. Your mother is devastated. She hasn't been sleeping. She just wants things to go back to how they were. And as always, the emotional manipulation began. I used to want that too, I said. But how things were meant I was your walking credit card, and I'm done with that. That's not why I called. Then why call right after Mom brings up the mortgage? I cut in. Why not last week, or the week before? Why only when you need something? Silence. Heavy. Then finally, my father spoke, his voice almost defeated. I don't know what you want from us anymore, Nathan. Nothing, I said, and that's exactly what I want. Then I hung up. My mother's choice. Now she had to live with it. Silence. Then a shift, from sadness to anger. You're so selfish, my mother snapped over the phone. After everything your father and I sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us. Sacrificed? I repeated, letting out a dry laugh. Name one thing, just one, that you've done for me in the past 5 years that didn't involve asking for money? Nothing. Not a word. And that was my final answer. Good luck, Mom, I said, and hung up. Their fake smiles eventually faded. A week passed. Then 2. Then I heard the news. Rebecca had cracked. She drained her savings to help our parents, something she had never done when I was still carrying the load. She was now covering the rent, utilities, and even a chunk of their credit card debt. Things went downhill fast. A mutual friend told me Rebecca and Thomas had begun fighting constantly about money. Thomas had no idea just how much my parents used to depend on me. Now he knew, and the tension was tearing them apart. Their cheerful family photos vanished from social media. No more flashy birthdays, no more luxury vacations. All that remained was heavy silence. I began to feel something I had never truly felt before. Relief. No more monthly transfers. No more bills that weren't mine. For the first time in years, my paycheck was mine. I redecorated my apartment, bought a new dining set, and finally purchased the espresso machine I'd been eyeing for months. I booked a trip to Japan, a journey I'd dreamed of for years, this time from Vancouver. And this time, I lived without guilt. No money requests, no emergency calls, no shame in spending on myself. I stepped into a brand new life, one where I was no longer someone else's wallet. Then the collapse came. One night, scrolling through social media, I saw it, a tagged post from one of Rebecca's friends. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Stay strong, Rebecca. In the photo, Rebecca wore a forced smile and Thomas looked like he hadn't slept in days. I clicked on Rebecca's profile. No more family photos. Nothing. Then Eli, Rebecca's close friend, messaged me. Nathan, I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but things are falling apart over there. Me. Why are you telling me? Eli. Because I know you did everything for them. And now that you stopped, they're crumbling. I was added to a private group chat where Rebecca spoke freely about me. Rebecca. Nathan is so selfish. He leaves us struggling like we deserve it. I emptied my savings to keep our parents afloat, and they're still sinking. Thomas is furious. He says it's their fault for relying on Nathan for so long. I swear, if Nathan doesn't come back soon, I don't know what we're going to do. I laughed aloud. Come back. She still thought I needed them. A week later, a strange number called. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Nathan. I froze. It was my father's voice. What do you want? I asked coldly. Son, we need to talk. We really don't. Nathan, he said, voice dropping into that familiar stern tone. Enough. You're being unreasonable. Unreasonable? I laughed. You mean I walked away from the family that abandoned me over a stupid vacation? He grew angry. But even after all this, he didn't understand. This isn't about the vacation, I said, patience thinning. This is about the years I sacrificed for a family that never appreciated it. No, he quickly denied. We've always loved and cherished you. Then why haven't I been invited to Thanksgiving in 6 years? I interrupted. Silence. I could hear his heavy breathing through the phone, as if he were struggling with pride and guilt, but he said nothing. Look, he said finally, his voice controlled. We can fix this. Your mother and I. Fix what, Dad? I interrupted again. That I'm finally strong enough to say enough? That you can't control me like a puppet anymore? Why does it have to go back to the way it was? The way it was, where I was always the one who was left behind. There was silence again. Then finally, a weary sigh, as if he'd given up. Rebecca's having a hard time, Nathan. She needs help. I chuckled, not because it was funny, but because it was so ironic. Oh, so Rebecca needs me now? He's falling apart. Thomas is thinking about selling the house in Boston. The kids don't understand what's going on. It's not my problem anymore. Nathan, please don't be selfish. No, Dad. I'm being realistic. For the first time in my life, I'm thinking for myself. There was a long pause, long enough for me to think he'd left the call. Then his voice dropped, as cold as the middle of a North American winter. So that's it? You just turned and walked away? You turned first, I said. At JFK Airport, remember? You walked away without looking back. Another silence. Finally, a short, bitter, heavy sentence. Okay. And he hung up, his final goodbye. That was the last time I heard his voice. I thought my mother would call, email, or at least send a long text message, like she always did. But no, not a word. Rebecca? She disappeared as if I had never existed. A month later, an old school friend brought the news. Rebecca and Thomas had sold their house near the Charles River and moved to a cheaper suburb to the north. My parents had also sold their old house in Newton, the place they had once called home, and moved into a small, drab apartment. They had spent a decade pretending to be superior, pretending they didn't need me, and now they were really experiencing what it was like to live without me, for the first time ever. As for me, I was free. Not just from the financial burden, but from all the toxic ties. I owed them nothing. Not success, not money, not forgiveness. I took a deep breath, blocked all contact from them, and never looked back. For the first time in my life, I was living for myself, and it felt incredible relief.